Hi, I'm Leon Lovelace, and this is Unstoppable Force. Now, I need your help. I need you to go to my PayPal link. I'll put a link in the description box below. I'm going to also throw it on here. So you can go there and donate to my channel so I can expand it. But it's been a while. I haven't been able to make that many videos lately, but it's because my brother and his wife came in, so I've been spending plenty of time with them. So I've been occupied, but I actually have a little bit of time to make a video, so got one right here for you. And it's from the newsandobserver.com. And talks about how Roy Cooper wants to give teachers and state workers a big raise. I read this a while ago, so I thought it was pretty interesting, but then I looked and I found some more information, so definitely had to talk about Roy Cooper's budget. And I'll start from the top because it talks about how the average teacher will get an 8% raise next year. Other state employees will get their biggest raise in a decade, and schools will get millions of dollars to upgrade security, buy supplies, and hire new resource officers, nurses, counselors, social workers, and psychologists. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of hiring new resource officers to make sure schools are more secure because we need to demilitarize schools and just not have this aura about, especially in the poor neighborhoods and the poor schools, where we're going to have police officers in here ready to make sure we're going to snatch you up and take you into jail or children's jail. I forget what it's called if you screw up. So there's other ways to increase security in schools, and I think one way is actually bump up the minimum wage here in North Carolina, because it's the federal minimum wage is $7.25, and that's just complete trash. And just actually increasing the livelihoods and the incomes of the parents of those children, that should help with decreasing some of the violence, and also let's clean up some of the lead and the pollution that are in these neighborhoods, so people are less prone to being violent because they're neurologically being more prone to being more violent. So let's actually go with those issues, because those are the hearts of why maybe some of these areas are a little more violent than the wealthier neighborhoods and the wealthier schools. So let's actually fix the core of the problems. Okay, and he also proposed setting aside money for preserving farmland, conserving the environment, building affordable housing. That would cost about $20 million, and in addition into the extra $140 million he wants to send towards Hurricane Matthew recovery efforts. He'd also like to revamp how North Carolina trains its future workforce, with $60 million aimed at apprenticeship programs as well as scholarships to help people facing financial struggles enroll in and graduate from community colleges and universities. So that's good for increase in funding for training your workforce with apprenticeships and better higher education. But at the root of the problem is a lot of these corporations are shipping some of these jobs overseas. So instead of someone in North Carolina getting a good wage, that job's gone. So of course not all those people are able to replace that good job they had with another quality job that's giving them the same income or close to that. So what Governor Roy Cooper and a lot of other governors need to start doing is start pushing for jobs programs. Even though we have a supermajority Republican that's against Governor Roy Cooper here in North Carolina, he still needs to use his bully pulpit and talk about how the state legislature needs to follow him and provide for the people of North Carolina by creating a jobs program so people have a $15 wage and then have good benefits to go with that. And he also needs to push to increase the minimum wage in North Carolina, because it's only $7.25 an hour. That's complete trash, and we need to really try to get rid of some of this poverty, and one way to do it is increase the minimum wage. Because it says right here that Cooper's $24.5 billion budget is larger than the $23.9 billion budget that Senate Leader Phil Berger and House Speaker Tim Moore plan on budgeting. Then it says that Cooper plans to pay for a portion of his budget proposals by canceling income tax cuts for businesses and the wealthiest North Carolinians. The legislators cut the state income tax return to 5.499% in 2013. That rate is scheduled to drop again next year to 5.25%. Cooper says he wants to keep next year's tax cut in place for almost everyone, but he would keep taxing income above $200,000 at the current 5.499 rate. He'd also freeze the corporate income tax rate that is due to drop, saying that since Congress passed a major corporate income tax earlier this year, North Carolina doesn't need to add to that. It says North Carolina has low state taxes. Since he's a neoliberal, he's not going to say, actually what we need to do is increase just the income tax rate for the state to 6% and say, okay, well, even though this is going to hurt, the poor and working class citizens, what we're going to do is we're going to create that jobs program. So even though you're going to be taxed at a higher rate, you're going to get a lot more income, or at least a little bit more income, if you could get some of these jobs that me and the legislature are going to propose and create for you. And we're going to do other things like make sure that we're increasing money to healthcare, so you're spending a lot less money even if you don't have insurance. And we're also going to try to, and he should also say that he's going to push the General Assembly he's going to push the state assembly to jump into the Medicaid expansion, so a lot of North Carolinians will actually get the federal subsidy for getting health care, because North Carolina is one of the states that didn't buy into the Medicaid expansion. So I think a lot of people here are saying, oh, well, here we're still paying a shitload of money for insurance, and that's why Obamacare is terrible. And, well, Obamacare wasn't all that great because of a few things, but a lot of it was this market-based system to provide health care, and, of course, the market's not really trying to provide quality health care to everybody. But the other issue was that nobody in North Carolina would get the federal subsidies, and that a lot of people didn't really understand that North Carolina was one of the states that didn't accept the Medicaid expansion, so we didn't get any benefit from the Affordable Care Act. All right, he said those changes would bring in more than $110 million in revenue for the state, which he would use to boost teacher pay. And teachers are already slated to get around a 6% raise next year on average, but Cooper's plan would bump that up to 8%. He would also give raises to veteran teachers with more than 25 years of experience who didn't get anything extra in the legislature's budget plan. I was thinking that was good, him wanting to bump it up from 6% to 8%. But it's only because the teachers are putting pressure on him and the General Assembly. Because right here it says he then referenced massive teacher protests that are planned for Wednesday, on the first day of the legislature's budget session. So I'm going to go to that article. Right here is also on the Raleigh News and Observer. Because more than 60% of North Carolina's public school students will not have classes on May 16th, as 11 more districts cancel classes Friday due to exodus of teachers going to a rally planned that day in Raleigh. Okay, because 1,000 teachers from all across North Carolina expected to come with a march for students and rally for respect to lobby state lawmakers for better pay and working conditions. Because all the expected teacher absences, at least 37 of the North Carolina's 116 school districts have announced they'll close on May 16th. And my county is one of the counties that are actually going to be closed. And one of my parents, they should be able to babysit her, so I don't really have to worry about daycare that day, but I'm sure a lot of other parents are going to have to worry about daycare. So, of course, hopefully a lot of those parents, or all of those parents, could get their kids into daycare or have a friend or neighbor or family member watch their children that day. But I'm not so sure that just one protest day is going to put enough pressure on the state legislature to increase teacher pay and really increase a lot of the funding for the school education system. So I'm fully supportive of them doing this, but I'm thinking they're probably going to need to actually, they're going to have to prepare. So probably by January, February of next year, they're ready to at least at least go on strike for 2 or 3 weeks, because one day the legislature might be able to just give them a little bit of crumbs and give them just teacher pay, and that's it. So if they really don't do jack shit, the teachers need to go on a full out strike and really force the legislature to actually increase funding for the school systems.